temperature gauge reading between 50 and 75. I can't sell it. So always make sure you buy a new one. Let's have a look at the costs changing the thermostat, but there are some techniques that you can use to make it a little bit easier, which I'm going to show you now. As easy as that. So bumper has arrived, nicely painted by my mate Chris. What a nice job he's done of that. I faffed around a bit with this, to be honest, because I went for a white one, and then the white one I bought had was damaged here, which Chris has repaired. But now I've got the faff of refitting the flap, so I bought one complete that I could put back on with sticky back tape. And yeah, of course, good old Audi, it's a different size and shape than the original one I took off. The reason I didn't want to put this one off is because I heated it a bit. Look at the difference in size between those two. These you can't buy, even though it's got a part number on it, and that's the busted one. So I'm going to try and refit this, even though it's very slightly out of shape. Chris has painted the flap for me. I'm just doing another oil change. This is the second oil change. I always do 2 oil changes when I put liquid moly through it, just to clean out the remaining detergent. That literally only takes a few minutes to do, so that's just draining away. You've got a new filter to put in there. New headlight arrived. My original idea was to replace the lens on this, but yeah, I couldn't get the lens out. I tried heating this and levering it and God knows what. There are a couple of places on eBay where you can get the lens replaced for 180 quid, couple of £100. But then I bought that headlight, I found that one complete and put an offer in on it for 140 because it's got a very slight scratch on the front, which I'm not bothered about. I'll remove that paint and probably sand that back a little bit. So what we're going to do today is finish the oil change off, put the headlight in on that side, get all that squared away. As you can see, I've got the new crash bar on, all sitting nice. Got the headlight on that side, got the new bracket for that side, and then it's a case of refitting the flap to the bumper and putting the bumper back on, and then I think we're finished, and I'll drive it around a bit and she can go up for sale. So there you go. So new drain plug ready to go in. Always replace those because it's a pain in the ass if you don't replace it, and then that old seal starts leaking. Couple of quid off Amazon, why wouldn't you replace it? Now if you remember last time we looked at this, it was all covered with foam dust, which I've brushed off and blown off with an air blower. That came off the underside of the plastic cover because it had all rotten. So what I've actually done is taken something that we use in motorsport. This is flame-proof, heat-proof aluminium backed foam and sound deadening as well. So apart from this solid bit of, which is not foam, it's like a material, I've ripped all that rotten foam off the back of this and replaced it with this really nice material. This was about 12 quid off Amazon. We get through loads of this stuff in motorsport. It's really good for the engine bay and sound deadening and bulkheads and stuff like that, and I thought that would actually go really nice on the underside of that cover. And because it's quite thick, it's 10mm thick foam with the aluminium backing, it really does a good job of quietening down the engine. So let's crack on. Been looking at cameras as well. So many camera recommendations for YouTube. I've seen a nice set by Logitech called Mevo, which is 2 or 3 cameras that all Wi-Fi up together. I might give that a try to get started, or get a couple of little Sonys that I can put on tripods, but we'll see how we go. At the moment I'm stuck with this Note 20 Ultra, but yeah, let's see how we get on. Now, just when you think you're finished, you're not finished, because I took it out for a test drive. We actually did about 400 miles actually. We went to Cheddar Gorge in it to do a hike, but yeah, some test drive. Actually went beautifully, no problems at all. The temperature gauge reading between 50 and 75, so I can't sell it with the temperature reading low like that. So bought myself a Marla thermostat and set about changing the thermostat. I've done these before. It is an absolute bitch of a job, but there are some techniques that you can use to make it a little bit easier, which I'm going to show you now. So you can do this leaving the alternator in situ. It's tricky getting that bolt off the bottom there. The top one is easy, the bottom one is a bit tricky. All you have to do is get a little 10mm and have a 10mm socket that can angle, not an angle adapter on the end of it. Snap-on do them where the socket can angle onto the extension, and then you can actually get that bolt out quite easy. But the trickiest bit is this pipe here, which runs along the back there and behind the oil filter housing. Now, when you come to get the thermostat off, you've got to pull this off the end of the thermostat. So that goes on there like that. And as you can see, even without an O-ring on, that's actually quite a flush fit. Now, what happens with these is when this is in situ in the car and it's been on the car for 100,000 miles, this O-ring here in that hole there, they pretty much get welded together. So you find yourself here with your thermostat undone, with the plastic pipe running behind this, and you can struggle and struggle and struggle, and you cannot pull that pipe out. Now, what I do on these is I take a small hacksaw and I cut the thermostat off there, which just leaves this piece on the end of this pipe, and then I take the 3 bottom bolts out of the oil filter housing and loosen the top one so that I can pull the housing away, and then you can get the plastic pipe out from behind and you can come over here and you can put it in your vise like this. And then what I do is I gently hacksaw along there, taking care not to go all the way through there, and when I've got a gap I put a screwdriver in it and I just split it, it pings that apart, and then it pops off the end there. You then have to make sure you buy a new O-ring, which goes on the end there like that. And the reason you have to do that is, if you look at these 2 O-rings, it's difficult to see, but the one on the right is the old one, and it is, to me, not on the camera, it's visibly bigger than the new one. And the reason it's bigger is because it's worn out, and with trying to get it off, you stretch it and twist it and manipulate it, and it actually stretches it and makes it bigger. I'm not sure by how much, but it's probably 0.5 mil bigger than the new one. And what happens is, when you've got that old one on there, I mean that's not on there properly, but when you've got the old one on there, because it's bigger, it's thicker, and because it's thicker, no matter how much lube you put on it, you cannot get the thermostat to push on, because that's tight fit anyway, you know. And if you add a tight fit to an O-ring that's sort of 0.2 to 0.5 of a mil oversize, it's a bitch of a job, trust me. So always make sure you buy a new one. On seals like this, I always use ProDrive silicone grease. It's perfect for O-rings of this kind. It's what divers use on all their O-rings. It's waterproof, it does the job. It's better than using like normal grease, which is not meant for things like that. So you put the new O-ring on, coat it along the outside liberally with the silicone grease, put some silicone grease in the hole there, and then come round here and push the thermostat on. Now I'm going to do this now, and the reason I'm going to put the thermostat and the pipe on out of the car is because it's easier, because I can get all my force behind it and push it on. And then I'm going to take the whole assembly, feed the pipe round behind the oil filter, and then I can start bolting all this back together. But yeah, so there you go. So what I've taken off here is I've taken the intercooler pipe off, I've taken all the plastic piping off, I've loosened the oil filter, I've taken the throttle body off, moved all the wires out of the way to give me plenty of room. And yeah, and I've done all that by leaving the alternator in situ. So, you know, you can go that extra step and faff around with the tensioner and take the alternator out, but you don't need to do that to get these thermostats out, if you use the right technique. Right, so let me put this back together on here now with the new O-ring and some nice silicone, and then I'll come back to refitting it all. Okay, so job done. Liberal amount of this wonderful stuff, ProDrive silicone grease, all around the O-ring, liberal amount on the inside of this, and as you can see, it goes on really nicely. As easy as that. That's actually, I mean, you can do that in the car. This one is surprisingly much easier than other ones I've done. Normally I do this out of the car, but the ease of which that went on, I could actually do this in the car as well. That's your choice. Right, I'm now going to start putting it all back together. Let's have a look at the costs of the Audi project and see that I paid $26.50 for the car from Copart. Delivery, yeah, I'm going to have to look at delivery and see if it's even feasible of me getting a trailer and collecting myself, because that was 150 quid, because it was all the way up in Scotland. I think it was Whitburn, if I remember to check that. I spent 1,470 on parts. I actually ended up putting a new alternator on it because when I ran the car up, that sounded a little raspy. Timing belt, headlight, the paint were the two most expensive. The bumper was 400 quid, and then it cost me 250 quid to get that painted. Yeah, so 1,475. I did about 15 hours all told. Probably a little bit more if I factor in the 2 or 3 hours going over to my mate Chris's to drop bumpers off and things like that. So I could probably adjust that and bump it up to 20 hours. But if you say about 15, so total cost $46.75. Excuse the dog. Somebody at the door. Sale price, I sold it for $67.50, which was about right for a clean 10/11 plate Q5. So I made £2,000, which was an hourly rate, 138 quid. Very happy with that. So yeah, there you go. I just made 1,100 quid round the back of my mum's for 15 hours work. Not bad. Let's move on to the next project.